I'm Alison Cork and I'm Managing Director of Bayswater Media Group. I started out life as a journalist and a television presenter, and I brought together those skills into a multimedia group. So now we produce information about homes and interiors, syndicated across the newspapers and run websites. My favourite work ethic is actually from Mrs. Thatcher. It is, you should always be a little bit cold and a little bit hungry. Be succinct at all times. You have to bear in mind that an employer is seeing a lot of people. So I think brevity is incredibly important. Also, without being overconfident, somebody who comes in, makes good eye contact, a handshake, incredibly important how you make a handshake. And then when you're actually making the presentation, again, look at the people you're communicating with. Don't get glued to the screen, because it's those people you're hoping to relate to and make an impression upon. When a candidate is preparing for an interview, the greatest compliment that they can pay their potential employer is to bother to research about that company. It is a form of flattery, but it also is a gauge of how serious they are and how intelligent they are if they've bothered to Google to find out about the fact that I have more than one website, that my company has more than one aspect to it. That's what I want to know. I want to know they're truly engaged with me and my business and not just the concept of getting a job. There are some very strict rules about how you do present yourself. You know, for a man, I would expect them to wear a suit. I would probably expect them to wear a tie. I would want them to look and feel comfortable. I think that's, you know, again, when somebody is clearly very, very restricted in what they're wearing, I think it affects their performance. So I think as the candidate, you want to wear something that you feel comfortable with. And always pay attention to your shoes. I always look under the table, because people think the bit you can't see is the bit they don't have to worry about. And they'll be great from the waist up, very neat, very smart. You look under the table, they haven't brushed their shoes. For a girl, for a lady, it doesn't matter to me if they wear trousers or a skirt. I'm really not that bothered. And I know that some people, some girls don't particularly like to wear makeup, but I would expect to see her looking groomed. By which I mean clean hair, brushed hair, maybe a little bit of makeup. It just shows that you've put in the effort. CVs are absolutely critical, because if the CV isn't right, you're not even going to get through my front door. Brevity is incredibly important. An employer looking for somebody might be reading anything up to 100 CVs. You're not going to wade through War and Peace for each one. One side of A4, if it's well written, will give me all the clues I need as to whether or not you're the sort of person I want to come in and sit in front of me for an interview. In particular, I'd look for any gaps in your experience. It's almost what you've left out that's more important than what you put in. If there's something you're not telling me and I think you're trying to hide it from me, I'm going to dig even deeper. Leisure interests are also incredibly important. You know, what somebody does outside work says a lot about them. My overarching piece of advice would be, don't worry too much about making the perfect choice first time. It's much more important that you're led by your interests. Go with your passion if you can, if you're lucky enough to be able to. Go with something that engages you and interests you. And be prepared to bail out if you discover it's not right. Remember that it's all part of a bigger journey, and you can't take that journey unless you put one foot in front of the other and start down a path. Break down your objectives into small, manageable, bite-sized chunks. First step is to get yourself into a business which interests you. A lot of younger people seem to think that the world owes them a living. It is a very common conception amongst people. It's very interesting. And I think that's a lot to do with the cult of celebrity that we see and what people expect as their right in life. But I would say just, keep your feet on the ground, be realistic, get yourself into a good business, prove yourself, and then those opportunities will be given to you.